个欢乐的小火车把我带到我们的地方。现在我面前的呢，不仅有这个古香古色的古建筑，而且在空气中不仅有清新的花香，还能闻到食物混杂在一起的香味。这是什么神仙地方？我们来找个人问问吧。哎，您好。
哎，你好。
你好。
你好。
请问我们现在在的地方是在哪儿呀？
这是西府老街。
西府老街。
对。
这是传说中的西府老街。
对。那西府的文是什么概念呢？就是咱陕西关中平原以西统称为西府，这是一个范城，也就是今天的宝鸡地区。那宝鸡呢是周秦文化的发祥地，也是工艺美术之乡，也是青铜器文化的之乡。
没错，宝鸡真是一个非常人杰地灵的地方，工艺品非常多，这个我也有听说的。
对，还是一个中国小吃文化的一个发源地之一，
又有好吃的，又有好玩的。
对。那这个呢是展演了宝鸡地区明清时期的一个建筑美，就是建筑文化、饮食文化。
所以这个是，就比如说在我们身后的这个也是一个古建筑，对吗？
对，这是一个世纪文物。还有我们的民俗文化，就是在整个街区。那街区呢还有数家的一个百年老店
很多的百年老店也汇聚在这边了。
对，还有一个
很有光头的感觉。
非物质文化遗产的一个展示。
非物质文化遗产都可以在这一条街全部都看到，对吗？
是的。
那我简直迫不及待要去逛一逛了。但是谢谢您了。
哎，没关系。
我们一会儿见。
好，一会儿
再见。好，那刚刚我们问了这一位好心的大哥，然后他给我们详细的介绍了一下，原来我们这个是传说中的西府老街。那西府老街都有些什么呢？正如这位大哥所言，不仅有这个百年老店，还有我们的非遗文化。所以看来今天呢，我们可以拥有一场非常美妙的文化和美食之旅了。我们一起看看吧。空气中好像味道又变化了，酸了起来，我感觉应该是醋。我们先来看看这家有什么。哇，好香啊，有一点酸又有一点香。哎，你好。哎，你好，我们这个是头道醋。
这是冲凉头道醋，咱们西府老街现在加工的那个冲凉式醋，它是无添加。你品尝一杯吧。
我可以尝一下吗？
可以。
哎，好。现在呢，我们来品尝一下这个手工醋。您说这个全都是手工做的，对吧？
哎，对。
看看手工的醋什么味道？这是从这个大缸里就是
淋出来的。
淋出来淋醋。哎，小小一杯，看看，哎，这个颜色也非常的漂亮。
对。
哎，透亮。
挺酸的啊。
好酸。
它是第一口是酸，第二口是香，你再尝一口，再尝一口。它是酸香味，挺不错的。它能找到儿时的那个感觉
哇，
对，
这个醋跟我之前尝到的，就是直接用来调味那个醋还不一样。
对，来边的醋一个。
我感觉我还是能尝到一些粮食的味道。这里面有什么样的粮食呢？
那是大米、小米、高粱、玉米、豌豆。
大米、小米、玉米、豌豆都是非常健康的。
对，好。
这个醋尝起来确实跟咱们平常不一样。你看这个颜色也特别透亮，然后尝到嘴里虽然是酸的，但是回味是香的。对，
好。
哎，老板，我看您这个院子里好像供奉了一个
供奉的是那个啥醋坛神。醋坛神，醋神，
醋还有神呢。
醋有神。
那醋神是谁呀？
是现在是姜子牙。
姜子牙是醋神。哇，这个是一个冷知识。我相信很多观众朋友们、网友们都认识姜子牙，但是有几位知道姜子牙是我们的醋坛神。
对。
醋坛神能保护我们，能保佑我们什么呢？
就是我们以后就是天具这些都可以保佑。完了就是我们家庭做醋的时候，它就是供奉的这是那个，我们保证我们的醋的质量都应该没问题，都是这样信仰的。
也就是说我们拜醋神酿好醋，可以这么说，对吧？
对。
那为什么是姜子牙是醋神？这个您知道吗？
这个我知道，我们走近看一下还是。
我们在这儿看一下，您就跟我说说他的故事呗。
姜子牙为啥是姜子牙？本来就是说这以前那个《封神榜》嘛，《封神榜》上面姜子牙把各位那个神仙的位置封完了，就给自己留着那个玉皇大帝。但是还有一位没过来，就是那个张北胜嘛。这张北任。那我的普通话讲的不好，对吧？
很好。
张北任，他等这个时候，他就说，神都封完了，你还没来，他就说，我的醋坛神呀，你还没来呀。当他说到醋坛神的时候， 那个张北人就一下子就坐到那个玉皇大帝位置上了，他自己给自己就留了个醋坛神。
醋坛神，所以来晚了，所以留下了一个醋坛神。
他就自己说了个醋坛神。
这真是
本来自己位置是玉皇大帝。
明白了。今天我们不仅收获了一口好醋，而且还收获了一个好故事。今天你学到了吗？那谢谢您了，也谢谢您的故事，谢谢您的好醋，谢谢。哇，这个醋真的尝起来非常棒，而且啊，我们大家都知道，醋呢，它不仅是作为一个调味品，其实我们民间也一直认为它是有这个保健作用的，比如说它可以软化血管啦，还有说可以美容的啦。用醋美容的女性肯定是不少的。我觉得，醋呢是一个非常多功能的一个民间的调味品。然后走在这条路上，我刚刚这个看了一下我们周围的建筑，然后这一栋呢，我是特别想跟大家说一下的。我们中国古代的建筑啊，它很多是讲究这个对称和四方。那这一栋大家可以看到很奇怪，它好像就是一个完整的房子，哎，被切成了两半的感觉。这个呢，其实是我们关中8大怪之一的房子盖半边盖，可以这么说。那它为什么只有一半呢？其实我稍微的询问一下我们当地人，其实呢有2种说法。有一种说法呢是说，其实这样啊更非常的节省木材，所以它也是有一个非常环保的意念在里面。那另外一个呢是说，哎，这个有利于我们的邻里健康，因为2个邻里它如果盖这样的房子的话，它是共用一堵墙，而且呢，雨水啊，如果下雨的时候，雨水收集也可以收集在自家的院子里，这样避免了很多的纷争，也是更利于我们的邻里和睦。所以这个房子呢，也是我们关中的这样的一个特色。我们一般会找到什么样的地方找到这种建筑呢？我们在其他的地区可能很难看到，但在关中呢，这是一个传统的建筑，就自古以来一直都是这么建的。尽管呢，我们现在的建材不像以前那么稀缺了，可是还是保留了这样的一种风格，保留这样一种古建在这边，让大家能够了解到，哎，那个时候我们的房子是什么样的。所以这条街，我相信它的特色也在这儿，它的建筑也是一大看点哦。哎，我们在这边看到。哇，这应该就是。
你好，
哎，你好，哎，你好，我正在看您在这边操作呢。啊，您这个是在挂面对吗？
对对对，岐山空心挂面。
这个是岐山的，
对对对，
岐山空心挂面，也就是说它中间是空的吗？
对对对，空心的，空心的。
啊，那您接着来，哦，我们看一下怎么操作的。它就这个面不断往下抻，哎，哇。有没有一种玩橡皮泥的感觉？
特别有韧性。
那这个面在被抻到这么长之前，它的工序是什么样的？我们能看到吗？
可以，里面有，可以看一下，进去可以看一下。
好，我们现在来看一下，哎，在这个面抻这么长之前，它之前有多少道工序？我们来了解一下。
Before we stretch the dry noodle, what procedures we have to take to make this kind of dried noodle? Let's take a look how many procedures involved to make this well-known Qishan hollow dry noodle. Actually, back in 2006, it has been listed as one of the intangible cultural heritage in the Shaanxi province. So this is the first stage. This is a noodle basin. We will wash these noodles. We will have these poles setting up in this basin so as to hang all of these noodles. We have over 10 procedures involved before we make those noodles. So at the beginning, we will knead the dough and also we will cut it into small pieces and we'll stretch the noodles and then hang it into these poles. So it takes 2 days for us to make these fine dry noodles. So, for example, if you're in Qishan, if you tell your mother, I want to eat the Qishan noodle, so it takes at least 2 days before you eat it. So you could have a try. Well, actually, I'm able to lift it. It feels like it's quite heavy. So how many bowls can you make from this amount of fine dry noodle? So it is about 1.5 kilogram. It's quite beautiful if you look at the color of this dry noodle.
是它发酵的时候中间有空气，对不对？导致它就叫空心面。
对。
那这样口感是不是吃起来也不一样呢？
口感特别筋道爽滑。
筋道爽滑。
对，而且是非常适合这个老人和孕妇来吃。在我们当地，然后如果吃这个挂面干啥，就是老人生病了，或者说坐月子，然后就吃这个面条，因为它容易消化，
容易消化，很养胃。
对，很养胃。
那我们能试一下，就出去怎么挂起来，
可以
尝试一下这个挂面的过程。
可以。
哎，好，我来帮您吧，我可以。
好，
您帮着我一块儿呢。
好，我给你抬一下。
有点重，我跟师傅一块儿。
好，走。
来。哇哦，我们来试试这个挂面要怎么挂。
啊，咱们挂那边。
哦，这正好有一个空位儿。
那边可以挂。
好。
Are you able to do it? Especially when you're holding the noodle, it's quite heavy. Alright, just fix the pole. So I will put it here. It's just like I'm trying to hang some of the clothes. So I have to fix this pole inside of stack. It feels quite strange. You could see there are many holes in the stack, and then you will fix all of those poles inside of the stack. And then you try to stretch these noodles. Well, I believe it has a long history to handle these noodles, how long it takes. So actually it is dated back to the Western Zhou dynasty. So one of the emperor invented this way to handle these noodles. So it has around like 3,000 years of history. So especially when we have the Spring Festival, we have a special holiday, you have to bring some of these fine dry noodles to visit your relatives. Just up and down, just stretch it slowly. It's just like I'm doing the embroidery or textile work. It looks like a musical instrument. And also you need to have the chopstick and try to separate those noodles, making sure that all of these noodles will not be sticking together. Well, afterwards, this will be a very delicious noodle. Can you tell us more about the tradition of this Qishan dry noodle? So this kind of noodle has been carried down for thousands of years. Need a high degree of the tannics. Need to also have a good weather to dry all of those noodles. As I said, especially when you visit your relatives, especially in Shaanxi province, you have to bring some of these noodles. Actually, this is according to the anecdotes of Zhou. So in the past, for the local people, they don't have the jade or the brocade, so maybe they will send the noodles to their relatives because the noodle is as white as jade, and this kind of tradition has been passed down for thousands of generations. It has become a tradition in Shaanxi province. Alright, that's a tip. If you are visiting your relative, making sure that you bring some of this Qishan hollow noodle. This also shows your respect to the elderly. Alright, now you could see these are well-made dry noodle. So first you hand it and dry these noodles and you cut it into pieces and you pack all of those noodles. I would like to have a look. Well, it actually looks like a steam bun and for the noodles, and if you saw there was some bubbles or hollow holes inside of the noodles. It just doesn't look like a straw. For some parts, you may have the hollow part inside of the noodle because these bubbles are distributing unevenly. So for some piece of the noodles, maybe they're hollow, and for the other part, it doesn't. So when you're eating these noodles, how you make it? I know we have the minced noodle. So how you make this kind of dry noodle? Well, we would make this dry noodle into the minced noodle. It will be very delicious. Thank you very much for your introduction. So I will send this package to you as a gift. Well, again, I learned a story and also I could take this dry noodle back home. Thank you very much for your present. Look at that. So just now I have tried how to handle those dry noodles and now I have received a pack of the noodles. Let me show you some of this noodle. It just looks like this. It's very thin. This is my present. So I feel respected because we all know in Shaanxi province the dry noodle is considered as a kind of gift. And especially back in the ancient times, people consider jade as the present. However, for the ordinary citizens, they don't have jade. But the people always think the noodle is as white and as pure as jade, and that's why they send noodles instead of jade to other people. Well, you could say it's quite bustling in the Xifu Old Street. We have beverage, also we have street food. We believe behind all of those food, there are a lot of stories and histories behind it. And also you could tell there are a lot of architectures in ancient style. Also the paved road, I believe it is also in ancient style. Maybe these are some of the stone pavements from the old days because it is well preserved. And also we have the baked bun in this area. I believe it is quite thick, about 10 centimeters. So for this kind of crispy fried cake, it will be used as the food for military. It's quite tight in the texture. And also if you just take a smaller piece of the Crusty pancake, you will get full. It's quite solid and also very crispy. It's quite hard outside, but very soft inside of this crusted pancake. So for the whole one, it is about like 5 kilograms. It's quite heavy. Look at this piece. Let me see if I can lift it. I think in Shaanxi province we could see large bowls and also the food is quite large in size. I believe it is equal to 5 times as my face. I also hear an interesting story, and people were saying in the old days people will consider this crusty pancake as their food, and also they would use this kind of pancake as their shield. Yes, actually it can protect them against the weapons, for example the swords, because it is quite solid outside. It reminds me of another story. I believe people all hear about the legend. People will actually hand this kind of crusty pancake in front of them. So first they will use this kind of guokui, the pancake, as the shield, and if they get hungry, actually they could even eat this kind of pancake. We also have the sesame and also the walnuts inside of the crusty pancake. It is quite different from the naan, another kind of pita bread made from Xinjiang. So in Xinjiang, naan is a kind of pita bread, and this one is quite different. You could see it's quite heavy and also quite crusty. So there are also many ingredients inside of this kind of pancake. So for one pancake, it's about like 5 kilograms. So it could be used as one of the shield of the soldiers. And also it is considered as food for the military. It's quite interesting. It is not just a food. There are a lot of histories and stories behind the food. This is why so many food has been passed down for generations. So what is that? This is the handmade dried Binker stick. So this is the yellow bean. We didn't put any additives into this dried Binker stick. So first we will make the soybean sauce, and then we heat it up and make it into the dried Binker stick. But I'm quite curious how we roll off those Binker stick and make this dried Binker stick. So actually the soybean sauce is quite nutritious, and also the first layer of the soybean sauce is very important for us to make this dry Binker stick. You could literally lift it from the surface. It just feels like the layer on top of the milk. It feels like quite simple. Can I try it? Yes, I would like to try to make this dry Binker stick. Actually, when I'm eating the hot pot, I really love the dry Binker stick. So I would like to see if I'm able to make one of these. So maybe you should start from this area and then you just lift it. Well, easier said than done. It's not a simple job. Look at that, I'm able to hand one piece of the Binker stick. So what happens if these pieces stick with each other? Well, it feels so peculiar when I try to lift some of the layer of the Binker sauce. So it feels like it easily stick with each other. It is just like a layer of the soybean sauce. How many Binker stick you're able to make? Not much. Maybe around like 15 kilograms. So you have to work carefully in order to lift some of the Binker stick. Alright, I will try it one more time. Look at that. So in this place, we could buy some of these handmade dry Binker stick, and also I could have some hands-on experience to learn how to make this Binker stick. This is actually a traditional technique. You have to be very careful to make some of these Binker stick. Thank you very much. I have learned a lot. Well, it's hard to describe how I feel. It's just a thin surface, but it's quite juicy. So you have to be very careful to lift some of those Binker layer. And also you have to strip out some of the juice and the sauce after you dry all of this Binker stick, and then you're able to make some of the dry Binker stick. So for this kind of Binker stick, it's just limited to the yellow bean, and also you could make some of the black bean stick. And also we see some of the workshops, they are also frying the tofu. So you could see for some of these workers, the chefs, they're actually putting on a kind of scarf on their head. So what is the function for that piece of scarf or handkerchief? So they're saying they could protect themselves from sun. And back in the old days, there are a lot of wind and a sandstorm in Shaanxi province. So especially for girls, they would like to cover their head with the handkerchief so that they can protect their hair. And also, if they're getting hot, they could actually put some of the handkerchief and try to clean their face, clean their sweat. So for this kind of handkerchief, they have many functions. It is just like a sunshade. But nowadays, it has been considered as a decoration, and also it is very colorful for this kind of scarf and the handkerchief. And you could see they will use very bright color. They will use the red and the green, and also to show their personal characters. And I believe in Shaanxi province, we have many noodles and the doughs. We could see a large knife, what they're doing. I believe it is a kind of the fried noodle. Can I have a look? Sure. What are you doing right now? So actually I'm using a large size of the knife to cut the dough into pieces. Actually just for the knife itself, it's very heavy. It's about like 40 kilogram. So for one side, it's actually fixed on the table. It's very heavy. So actually you are cutting into very thin slices of the noodle. So actually it is one of the local delicacies in Shaanxi province. So this kind of noodle have a very long history, which can be dated back to the Western Zhou dynasty. So we started this shop at around 1980s. So can you show me again how to cut these noodles into small pieces? So actually we could save a lot of strength. So on one side you just like hold this dough, and also on the other hand you have to hold tight of the knife. Well, I would like to have a try, but I believe it requires a lot of skills to make it. Alright, I would try it. I think it's very heavy for the knife. How can you do it so fast? Because I think it's quite difficult to use the knife. Well, actually, the old gentleman next to me have been doing this for over 40 years. It requires a lot of technique. So maybe right now we don't see much of this kind of technique to use a very large knife to cut all of these noodles. It's quite heavy. It's about 40 kilogram. So first I have to lift it, and then I have to cut it. So actually for the gentleman, he said he could actually blindfold, and also he's able to cut the noodles. Well, actually do not learn from this old gentleman, because we require a lot of skills to do it. For this old gentleman, he has been doing this for 40 years. So you could see, you don't have to see it. You just use the knife and also move along with the knife. It's quite simple. Well, actually it's a kind of blindfold cutting. And for the knife itself, it has around like 40 kilogram. It's quite heavy. So alright, I will check all of these noodles. Well, I can tell you're doing a very good job. Can you show us the noodles? Look at that. It's very beautiful. It's very refined. Excellent. You could just lift some of these noodles. Dear viewers, just take a look on those noodles. For this section, actually, this old gentleman blindfolded his eyes and also tried to cut the noodles into slices. Well, I couldn't do that. Even though I have 4 eyes, I am not able to do it. I'm quite impressed. This kind of noodles is also a type of intangible cultural heritage in Shaanxi province. So in the last couple of years, and this kind of noodles has become listed as the Shaanxi's intangible cultural heritage. Alright, see you next time. Alright, dear viewers, have you heard anything? I believe it's the Shaanxi Opera. Let's take a look. How to do this? What is that? So we call it Bonzo. It's a kind of instrument. Can you teach me how to play Bonzo? I think it's very difficult to keep up with the beat. So maybe you could hold my hands and I will try how to do it. Alright, I think it's better to use my hand.
咱们这是哪出戏？
还原。
香山还原。
So, what is this play? It's a very traditional Shaanxi opera. Excellent. Actually, I'm just sitting in the backstage of the Shaanxi Opera, and also I could hear the sound of the gong. It feels like you are in the play, and also if you look at the expression of the audience, actually they're quite enjoying the show. So actually we have a friend. He is watching the show. My name is Xifu. Actually, I'm a university student from Shaanxi University of Technology. And actually, I study in Xi'an City. I just pay a visit here to Baoji. So if you're all by your own, probably you can join us. Xifu, alright, he's a student from Xi'an, and he will join us in our tour in the Baoji city, the Xifu Old Street. And just now, we are actually seeing a musical instrument. It's also a kind of percussion instrument. We call it Bonzo. So look at that. What is that? So this is the dough figure. We're actually making all of these figures with dough. No way. I don't believe it. Did you make all of these with dough? Yes. Exactly. Just have a closer look. Can we eat all of this dough? No, because we are actually dyeing all of this dough in different colors. But we are using the dough to make all of those figures. So it's quite light. We're putting some of the plastic bubble inside of this dough figure. So how long have you made this? And actually, I have been doing this for over 10 years. Thank you very much. So actually, I just made this yellow duck. Maybe I will show you how to make this. So this is the body for this yellow duck. So actually, our visitor, our guest, is trying to make this dough figure. You just rub it into round shape to make it into the duck of this, the head of this duck. And then you put it on top of the body of this duck. You're quite smart. This is the first time for me to make this kind of dough figure. And then you try to make the beak, the mouth of this duck. We will choose the dough in orange color to make the beak, the duck. You just press it. So you could use your hand or use this tool to make the mouth of the duck. Just like that. And you just put it inside of the head. Please be gentle. Just look at that. It looks like the head is a little bit square, but it's quite cute. Just try to have some decoration of this duck. It's quite cute indeed. And also we will put the eyes onto this duck. I will show you. Just put the eyes on the face. I could see the eyes is quite big for this duck. Just look at that. It's quite cute for this duck. Very artistic. Well, actually it is his first time to make it. And also we have to put some wings on this duck. Just try to tie it to the duck. I believe this master has been making all of these dough figures for many years. Also, we try to carve some of the patterns on the wings. It's quite very exquisite. Well, we just trying to polish some of the details, and we just like adding the feet of this duck. Well, I think it's quite hard. Well, I'm trying to add it in like the pupils of the eyes. Well, this looks much better. Oh my god, it's quite beautiful for this duck. Well, if it is your first time, I think it's quite nice. Just take a look on this dough figure, the duck. Can I take it? Yes, actually, it is a present from the master. Just show our viewers, it did look a little bit strange, but still, it's quite good. It is his like first time to do it. Maybe we can read some of the comments to see how they view this kind of duck. They're saying that the eyes looks like shining as bells. They always say the eyes looks like bell. People typically hang this kind of bell on a kettle. So, well, actually, in my country, people also have this kind of metaphor. Well, look at the eyes of the duck. It's just like the bells. Well, right now, what they're doing right now, I believe they're actually frying the dough stick. It looks very delicious. It is all pure handmade, twisted dough. I would like to have a taste. How do you feel? Very tasty, very crispy. Actually, we just make it on site. So it is quite salty. Do you have the sweet flavor? Fried twisted dough? Well, today we all make the salty flavor. So how many could you make per day? Around like 3,000 to 4,000 dough stick. Yeah, we are able to sell out all of those dough stick. It's quite impressive. 2 RMB per piece. It's quite large in size. It's also very tasty, very fresh. It is purely handmade. Deep fried dough stick. We just use the flour and use the seed oil to fry all of these twisted dough. Very delicious. Well, I couldn't believe it. They actually can sell out around like 2,000 to 3,000 pieces per day. And it tastes very good, very crispy. And it is a bit salty. And he just told us that in the past they used to make some of the sweet flavor dough stick, but maybe in Shaanxi province people like to have this salted flavor. Even though it is deep fried twisted dough, but it doesn't feel greasy. Well, I believe in Shaanxi province they are quite famous in making all of those staple foods made from dough. How long have you been studying Chinese? 1.5 years. Alright, now I have a test for you. How do you pronounce this word? I have no idea. I know this one. This one is called ban, and this is called tao. Do you know what is tao? I believe a kind of fruit. So what about he tao? This is actually a kind of nuts. So what about this one? So this is called he tao hu ban. So here it is. So this is what we call the hu ban. Also a local street food. Just have a taste. Also, it's quite salty. So we have different flavors. Just help yourself. So this one is made from walnuts. So maybe try some sweet flavor hu ban. This is also a kind of fried pancake. Just have a try. Which one is better? Both. Which is your favorite one? I like the sweetness. And the salty one also tastes good. I have never seen this kind of food in other places. I think it's quite unique in Shaanxi province, especially in the city of Baoji. So this place we have a lot to eat and also a lot of fun. So do you know the history of this kind of food? And actually for Huban, I would like to give you some explanation. When we call the Huban, it's a kind of office supply, a kind of stationery. So it's a kind of a mammal plate. So back in the ancient times, when the officials meet the emperor, they will actually take some of these tablets as a memo to show the emperor. So why you turn this kind of plate or tablet into a kind of food? So actually there is a story here. In the past, there's a legend that one of the officials, when he's trying to meet the emperor, he actually forgot to bring some of these tablets. So it just feels like when you're going to school, you forgot to take the books or textbooks. And then for this official, he come up with this idea. Maybe they will use dough to make a kind of tablet. So it's quite smart. So what about this one? This is what we call yougao, a kind of a local cake. This is a dough cake made from flour, and they put it into oil for deep fried. We have two flavor, the brown sugar flavor, and the other one is with the sesame flavor. So this is a yougao, a kind of a cake. So for both of them are quite sweet. So actually we are trying to seek some of the samples from each stall. Look at the sound, it must be very tasty. Actually, I can't wait to taste some of this food. So this is made from the brown sugar, and the other one is from the bean paste. Well, it tastes so good. It's quite fresh, and actually I could feel the heat of this cake. So what are you taking? I believe it's made from the brown sugar. So it is just fried. So we have to be careful, be patient to eat this kind of deep fried cake. It's a bit tasty, very soft, and also quite sweet. You can taste the flavor of the brown sugar and the bean paste. I believe women will love this kind of snack. The oil is very healthy. It's not that greasy. It smells so good. Actually, for myself, I have never tasted before. I also never tasted in the city of Xi'an. Maybe this kind of fried cake is unique to Xifu Old Street. There are many delicious food in the city of Xi'an. So when we are walking through the Xifu Old Street, we could find like tens of dozens of food. And also we could have a culture feast inside of Xifu Old Street. Hello there. we are just actually tasting some of the local street food. What are you doing right now? We are actually enjoying the Ma Shao face mask. It's also very famous in the city of Baoji. Look at that, it looks like in the shape of a spoon. So in the ancient days, people would use this kind of tool to collect water. So this is what we call ma shao in the ancient time. It is also made from wood. Why we want to draw on some of the patterns and serve it as the face mask? So for this kind of face mask will be used for the performers when they're performing the 社火. It's a kind of activity in the Shaanxi province to celebrate the Spring Festival. So what is 社火? So for 社火 is a kind of activities in Shaanxi province. So actually for foreign countries, maybe we will call it as a carnival or a celebration. So people will wear this kind of face mask to pray for the auspiciousness and drive away the evil spirits. Especially it happens in holidays. I believe there are many colors painted on this face mask. So does that have the special meanings? Right. So we will use different colors to differentiate the characters of different figures, and with the different patterns and the facial expressions, we want to show the stories of the figure. Do you want to put it on, or do you want to try to paint one of these Ma Shao face masks? Just learn from the master on how to paint the face mask. This is the way how you hold the brush. So you just fill in this area with black. Well, this is the first time for me to paint this face mask. So how long have you been doing this, making this kind of Ma Shao face mask? Well, I've been doing this for 35 or 36 years old. And also I'm one of the inheritor for 社火 face mask in Baoji city of Shaanxi province. This is also one of the projects under the intangible cultural heritage. Well, actually you are doing a very good job in painting the face mask. Well, for this kind of face mask, you need to have a special pattern. If you don't have this kind of pattern, then we are not able to tell what is the figure. So if you are not drawing on the pattern, and then this kind of figure will be wasted. So I can see there were different colors on the face mask. Can you tell us more about the significance of this color? Red represents loyalty and kindness, and also what about the black color? The black color also represents the upright character. Actually, he's doing a very good job in painting the face mask. Thank you very much. Let's continue our tour. Well, this is actually some of the characters that are doing the 社火 performance. Very bravery, I believe, for this figure. Who are you? Actually, this is the god for fortune. So what about the other characters? This is the Black Tiger official. Wow, actually for this Xifu Old Street is fantastic. We have tasted a lot of food, and also we have a friend joining us. So actually he is watching our live streaming. How do you feel about the Xifu Old Street? Very interesting. Here we could have a lot of food, and also we could experience the feast of the historic and intangible cultural heritage. The most important thing is that we can learn a lot of histories, at least 3 or 2. So for each one of the food or architecture, it is embodied a lot of history. So in this place, you could see you have this kind of ancient architecture, and also we have a lot of performance to pass down the culture. And this time we are able to fill our stomach, and also we learn a lot of stories. And for example, we know Jiang Ziya as the god of the vinegar, and also we learn some culture about the Ma Shao face mask, and also we're able to make some of this dough figure. But I think this duck I made is a little bit strange. So you have to practice. So with dough, you're able to make some of these figures. Well, actually, very wonderful day today. We are eating a lot of food, and also we learn a lot of civilization and culture from Shaanxi province. Here we have a gong. Maybe you could beat the gong, which marks the conclusion of today's tour. 3, 2, 1. All right.